talk about this movie anymore.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about the Santa Claus 3, the escape clause, like 49 more times.
For the third time, for the 49th to last time?
Hey, but this is the first recording of 2018.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
Shit, it is.
Happy late New Year.
Right.
Didn't we say Happy New Year at the end of the last cast? I'm pretty
We
sure.
did.
Yeah, because we knew that
Yeah.
time would work that way, you know. We can see the future and all that.
Starting things off, I've done my homework.
Okay.
Okay, we're just jumping straight into it. We're not even going to introduce ourselves. Okay, sure. I'm into it. Go on.
Oh yeah, introducing ourselves. That's the thing we should do.
No, I'm into it. Just keep going. Play with it. Play with the space.
Get down with your bad self.
Exactly.
I've already fucked up.
We've all fucked up. Don't worry. We fucked up 3 weeks ago.
Welcome one and all to the worst show on earth, where we watch the Santa Claus 3 52 times. This is time number 3. I'm John.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Theodore, and I feel bad, but not because of the movie, just because I'm bad at sleeping.
Yeah.
So just to clear that out.
We're all
right
bad
out
at
the
sleep.
gate.
So yeah,
We're
homework.
all really tired right now.
I'm not. I'm always up and at it. But yeah, I've discovered that the reindeer maths question, the answer is 3 hours. It took me like 10 seconds to solve it.
Okay.
Did you use a
That-
calculator?
No.
Wow.
It was really simple. It's basically one reindeer goes west at 20 miles per hour, one reindeer goes east at 50 miles per hour. How long does it take for them to be 210 miles apart? So it's just 50 plus 20 times 3. Fuck.
To be fair, you ask that question to a bunch of, like, first or second graders. They might not know shit.
Yeah, to be fair, it is elementary math.
Alpha
true.
Elementary.
So I did my homework too. I don't know if Flynn, you also did the homework.
Oh, yeah, you too.
I don't even
Yeah,
remember what
okay.
our homework was.
Yeah,
Okay.
to translate the duck, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
to translate, and I use that in air quotes because
unquote.
upon a second listen I realized that the duck wasn't actually speaking another language at all. It was just talking in an offensive accent.
Was it actually?
Yes. First it was Spanish. It was the ducko se quaco.
What?
And then it was French, which is the duck se quoi. And then it was Italian, which is the duck se quack. And then after it
Oh
was,
my
hey, wait, to
God.
come back.
Oh my god.
my
I did not. I guess that shows how much attention I actually paid to the duck that I didn't even notice that. Oh my god.
Okay. I actually did a bit of
Okay.
extra credit as well. I have counted and ordered the way Curtis cries for help.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it goes in this order. Help me, help you, help me, help me, help me, help you, help you, help you, help me, help me, help you, help you, help me, help you, help me, help me.
Oh god, make it stop. I've already had to listen to that 3 times. I don't need you adding a 4th to it.
I think your line delivery was actually better than Curtis's.
Yeah, no, I will agree with
And
that.
I'd probably make a better actor, but I don't think like an elf would have facial hair.
Yeah.
Do
I
we
mean,
have any proof that that's not the case, though?
when an elf grows facial hair, they die.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because remember, like, the first sign of puberty they show is, like, they're probably, like, a few days from death. Like, elf
Yeah.
days or human days.
Elf days.
Elf days. Wouldn't an elf day just be like a month or something? Probably.
Yeah.
That's still a long time.
Let's see, Also, the bulletin board near the start of the movie, the electronic bulletin
yes.
board, it said 378 years without an accident, which I found really amusing.
Yes, that is something that it says. It also says at a later point, I believe during the time when Neil is doing elf psychology or whatever, I had a little bit of issue actually trying to read this because it's very out of focus in a lot of shots, but it's scrolling by there, it's saying, Christmas is tomorrow, fasten your lederhosen.
Frozen.
Lederhosen, I don't know how you pronounce that word,
Later
honestly,
in
and
the
I don't
film,
care.
right near the end, I noticed that when Tim Allen said to all the elves to stop working for a minute to like introduce like the in-laws and whatnot, the bulletin board says something along the lines of "Christmas is soon, start working."
Okay.
And I found that contradiction absolutely hilarious. Like, the bulletin board is one of my
Stop
favorite
working.
things of the movie at the moment.
The bulletin board is like the electric bulletin board is extremely good, and I wish there were more shots where it was in view because a lot of its funnier lines are
Obscured.
they're extremely difficult to actually see because, like, again, Christmas is Tomorrow, Fast and Year Later, Hosen. That was only truly visible for like one shot out of all the times that it was actually visible, and it was tough to kind of like
Make out.
actually find it. Yeah. I had another note somewhere. Going actually back to Curtis. You brought up Curtis and his help me help you all that garbage, right?
Yeah.
This is something that I observed when I was rewatching the movie this time around, which is that realistically, you look at all the events of this movie and all of the problems, all of the conflict that comes up in this movie can be traced back to Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis is a fucking
Curtis
idiot.
is the cause of Tim Calvin's family issues. He is the reason Jack Frost knows how to make his plan work. He is the reason for all of the conflict over the course of this movie because of his own incompetence.
Yeah, like, and to boot, after Curtis accidentally blabbed out how to access like the Hall of Snow Globes and how to invoke the escape clause, he never thinks, wait a second, I should probably tell like Tim Allen to fix things and change the like combination or change where he's keeping his snow globe for a bit.
Hold on a minute though, because you say accidentally as if he didn't mean to like reveal it, but Jack Frost was very much goading him on and like mocking him and like, oh, I bet you don't even know what it is because I definitely know what it is.
Yeah, but no, what I'm trying to say is by accidentally I mean sort of involuntary, like, so he said it of his own volition, but he didn't mean to reveal it because right before he said it's classified information that he's not going to say. It's more psychological manipulation from Jack Frost.
I thought for sure that Curtis was going to become like Jack Frost's lackey at some point in the film.
Yes, this was actually something that I don't remember if we ever brought it up earlier, but I thought for sure Curtis and Jack Frost would team up at some point, and it didn't happen, which is kind of disappointing in a way.
Yeah, no,
But
there's so much potential they could have done.
I guess Curtis also isn't very competent, so what use does Jack Frost have for him, you know, besides information?
I noticed another elf pun.
Uh-huh.
Near the end of the movie, it's brought up that what Cupid's like altitude is brought up, like saying that Santa, aka Tim Allen, aka Scott Calvin, is talking about Cupid's altitude, but he says altitude.
Right. How he might want to like something covering him up at this altitude, and Cupid mentions, I like the draft.
Yeah, but he says altitude.
Oh, he said altitude?
He did.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Needs to keep going deeper and deeper.
I'd like to point out a couple of things, by the way. First thing is that the opening establishing shot, the panning over the North Pole,
Yes?
that's entirely CG and it looks awful.
Quality.
Quality CG, of course.
Also, when Mrs. Claus reveals that it's a false alarm pregnancy, what's it called? Labor,
Labor. I guess.
when her going into labor is a false alarm, one of the elves says, "I canceled a pedicure for this."
Yes, that was really good.
Yeah, I didn't
noticed
quite.
that every
I didn't.
time.
Yeah, I didn't quite make out what they said, but it was still pretty funny to hear.
So
Stuff from the
actually, relating to that scene, I noticed something in actually Watch 2 that I forgot to bring up last time, and I'd like to bring it up now. During that scene, there is an elf in there that is very like regally dressed and even has like a crown on.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah.
So I am curious. Who the fuck is that, and why are they so important that they're dressed like that?
And yet they're never brought up in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, they're just...
They're
They
just a prop.
seem, from their costume design, like they should be an important figure in elf culture or something, but
Well, yeah.
they're just not. They're just there.
Also,
It's
in
weird.
the... I don't know whether I should call it a chase scene or not at the start of the movie.
It's not a chase scene, it's... I think we settled on labor sequence.
Labor sequence.
The labour sequence. I keep noticing this, but there's this one elf that I swear is voluntarily jumping in front of the bed table carrying Mrs. Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just the movements to me seem like he's running into it and then he literally dives into it.
Okay. I'll have to pay attention for that next time.
There are a lot of scenes during that little sequence of, oh, it's funny, there's two elves carrying a window and they gotta dodge it, but why would they be in the way? Like,
Because they're...
Because
why didn't
comedy.
they just, like, stop walking?
Because Christmas is tomorrow and you gotta get moving.
You gotta get that window there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that window. I
Gotta
don't know what you would
deliver
use
that
window.
window.
Also, another thing near the start of the movie I noticed. They said there were 270 cutouts of Jack Frost found in store displays, right?
Yes.
I think, if I remember right,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 270 found in a single mall or something, right?
I don't know that much, but 270 Frost cutouts.
Either way, yeah.
But then a tiny bit later, 273 cases of upstaking Santa. Like, okay, that's kind of interesting how they have 3 more cases that are probably unrelated to the cutouts.
Well,
One
they
of them is
mentioned-
freezing the Hawaiian volcano.
Another one of them is frosting over Mexico, and what was the other
And the-
one?
making it snow in the
Yes,
Amazon.
that was it.
So we did it.
Okay.
We found all 273 cases.
Gotta catch them all.
Each cutout is its own case. Also, I noticed in certain scenes, Santa's mustache was more curled in a different direction. Most of the times it was a neutral, but I noticed at the start of the movie it had more of a left curl.
It was probably losing its curl over the course of the movie.
Yeah, and I noticed in like in the scene when he visits his ex and their family, that his right mustache side is a bit more curled.
Okay.
So I just thought that was interesting to point out, but I didn't really pay much attention to it overall because it wasn't that important.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I did notice that the curl was more exaggerated in one direction or the other most of the time.
One thing I tried to notice was, when his butt catches fire and then the toothpaste gun is used on him to douse it, right?
How could I forget?
Yeah.
I tried to keep an eye out to see if in it, like the immediately following scenes, the costume designers would just forget about that and he would magically have the toothpaste vanish. No, that toothpaste stuff is on his butt for basically the entire, well, as long as he's got that outfit on still. Because later he does change outfits, presumably because, his pants were on fire.
It was all one take.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I guess I could believe that. Why not? There was one other thing I wanted to point out because last time when we were hypothesizing about Bud and the kitchen fire, we all sort of forgot the sequence of events because the infirmary scene where he is getting involved in that is after the kitchen fire. So he can't have gotten the toothpaste gun from dousing an electrical fire there or something.
So he just had it.
Yes, which still leaves a mystery of where he got it, and I'd like to try and dive into that
Bud
right
is
now.
always prepared for everything.
Bud is prepared for everything. So how did he get prepared for the kitchen fire? Where did he get that toothpaste gun
Maybe
this
he
week?
saw the toothpaste gun and he realized that it would be important later, so he put it in his inventory.
So you're saying that
So you're
Bud
saying
is
that
an
Bud is an
adventure game
RPG
protagonist?
protagonist. Yeah, Bud is an RPG
Yeah, he's
protagonist.
a
For now.
Bud point-and-click adventure where you walk around Santa's workshop and pick up things that might be important in case of emergencies later.
I think we can call that good for that then. I think we've solved the mystery for this week.
Yeah, no, that is I would definitely play a Bud point-and-click adventure.
What would you call that? Would it just be Bud and Click Adventure? No. Bud and Click doesn't sound terrible, but it sounds more like a
It's
Santa
not
Claus 3 X Click crossover.
No.
Oh. No.
No.
No?
No.
You're not into... Okay, that's fair. One thing I noticed towards the end of the movie, after the time travel with Jack Frost and Santa Allen, when they're back in the future, present, whatever, and they notice the in-laws and Carol looking for Santa, I noticed that the Elfementary School still had the Elfementary School sign, but this is, not even presumably, still when the North Pole is supposedly in its Canada disguise. So did they miss that in their cover-up, or did they just completely forget to like change the set or whatever for that? I'm not sure. What do you think?
I'm more of the belief that the set piece directors were lazy.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
probably they're like, well,
Yeah.
we don't have a scene of them covering up this sign, so let's just leave it as is and hope that nobody pays any attention to the movie on their third rewatch.
They didn't count on us, though.
They didn't count on us. We foiled them yet again.
Oh, God.
Oh, also, when Neil is doing his like psychology bullshit when Tim Allen comes to their house, like Johnny just looks at him, sighs slightly, and has a kind of a "you seeing this shit" face.
I actually do not pay very much attention to Charlie over the course of the movie, so...
No, he like shakes his head and sighs a bit, and it's kind of fantastic. He's just like, "You're seeing this
I need
shit."
to pay more attention to Charlie, apparently, because that's very, very good. Another thing is that after the time travel, when Tim Santa, whatever the fuck his name is talking to Carol and just rambling on about his epiphany or whatever that he somehow had from foiling Jack Frost's plans, Carol asks, "Have you been drinking cocoa?" Which obviously the intention there is very clear. But I would also like to propose that this is yet more evidence that cocoa is equivalent to elf crack. Because it is being directly equated to a substance, essentially, here, and it was being used very effectively as a temptation method by Jack Frost earlier in the movie for the worker elves. I think this is pretty strong evidence that cocoa is indeed elf crack.
They could have very easily said eggnog if they wanted to, use a Christmassy themed beverage that was alcoholic, but they specifically singled out that it was cocoa. So that just...
Well, no, eggnog. I think eggnog is their alcohol and cocoa is their crack, as Ted brought up.
Well, I mean, eggnog is just, like, natural that way, though. And...
Yeah, I think it'd be easier to tempt people with, like, their equivalent of crack than it would be to, like, alcohol.
Yeah, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying that cocoa is, in this context, a bigger fish, essentially, than eggnog would be. So,
yes.
So even, okay. I would also like to say that maybe they didn't use eggnog because, do they actually ever reference a single alcoholic beverage over the course of this movie? Besides the whole cocoa thing. Okay.
One thing I want to point out, when Bud and the mother-in-law wake up and reminisce about their flight, I just find it amusing. I think Bud said that his in-flight food was just 4 nuts in a pouch.
Yes, the discrepancies between their two dreams are very, very interesting and says a lot, I think, about them as people.
Yeah. And something that comes shortly after, when they were talking about this is what Canadians look like, Bud just mutters, Tom Cruise isn't petite.
It's true.
When Tom Cruise is Canadian, isn't he?
Is he?
I think
that would
so,
be
but I
funny.
definitely heard Tom Cruise.
He's an alien now, but I think he used to be from Canada.
One thing about the in-laws that I'd like to point out, because I tried to pay attention to this, earlier in our earlier watches and discussions, we kept just referring to the in-laws as the in-laws, and more specifically, we continuously referred to the mother-in-law as just the mother-in-law. So that made me wonder, like, hold on, do they actually ever give the mother-in-law a name? And I tried to explicitly pay attention to this. Yes, the answer is yes. Her name is Sylvia, and it is mentioned, I believe, a grand total of 2 times throughout the movie. And one of them is in her introductory scene, and I'm pretty sure the second one is only a couple scenes later. The rest of the time, she's just referred to as mother or mom or whatever.
Also, why does the, Naughty Nice List dispenser have a setting to make it go that fast? Is that, for, Santa's hard mode?
That's when the elves are on crack.
Exactly. It's powered by cocoa.
On cocoa, you mean? And then, again, sequencing in notes, in the kitchen, the elves have extremely poor health safety. A lot of the female elves just have their hair dangling right next to open fires.
Oh, God. I never considered that. That is That is actually a very major health hazard.
Are we
when you look
going
at
to
that.
Yeah.
Are we going to go full Bud and analyze the OSHA compliance of the North Pole? Because I'm willing to do that. I've already taken notes on the fact that the ladder leans slightly, and also that you're not supposed to have alcoholic beverages in a workplace environment.
You're not meant to have crack in a workplace environment.
Yeah, but look what I mean, do you think Santa actually... Okay, here's a question for you. Obviously, Santa is not known to the general public in the good future. So I don't think he has to worry about legal stuff there, really. But...
yeah, I think Jack Frost would have to comply to the compliance.
That's what I was about to bring up. In the bad future, do you think because Jack Frost makes the North Pole into such a big deal that that technically it's still a safer workplace because he would then have to deal with those kinds of regulations? And in that weird way, is he sort of a better boss for that?
Okay, yeah, but I think Tim Allen is one of those types of bosses that would just say, I don't care, you can do whatever as long as it gets done on time.
See, Jack Frost as a boss, his elves look miserable, so I'm assuming that he treats them like subhumans.
Yes, absolutely. But the safety of the workplace is still good.
Yeah, I think Jack Frost wouldn't compare for legal compliance. And if he still has his Jack Frost powers, he'd probably just freeze whoever tried to stand up to him legally.
I mean...
Actually, no, this is a question I wanted to bring up. I sort of briefly joked last time in our outro about, hey, is he doing double duty? This is actually a legitimate question that I have. Does he still have his Jack Frost powers now that he's Santa? Because all signs from what I could tell point to no. He doesn't.
He doesn't seem to. He never freezes anybody, even though he very well could have.
Yeah, and it would have solved a fair few issues.
But if he didn't have his frost powers, his skin wouldn't still be blue.
But his skin wasn't blue when he's Santa.
Yeah, but speaking of freezing people, something I could realize, Frost said he can't thaw people without thawing himself.
Yeah,
correct?
this is correct, yes.
That means, and he said he's frozen a lot of parents before. That means there's a lot of parents out there that are only just getting them
I would
frozen.
like to point out, no. What he says is, I've had kids beg me to freeze their parents. That doesn't necessarily mean he's gone through with it, but it doesn't rule it out, I will say.
Yeah, but if he has frozen parents before, or people in general, are they frozen in cryostasis like Lucy's parents were, just on the basis that they weren't frozen for very long? Or are they just dead?
So we're asking now, is Jack Frost an actual murderer?
Yeah.
Signs point to no?
I mean, we can't really say for, like, Neil and,
Well, they're still
whatnot,
alive.
like...
Yeah,
they're still alive because they weren't frozen for very long, is what I'm thinking. Because I think it's just like more of a... Well, it might just be cryostasis. I don't think they were any worse for wear and any signs of negative effects when they were
Yeah, part of
thawed.
the freezing process is that they remove all of the water in their bloodstream and replace it with antifreeze, just like in cryostasis.
One thing actually tying into this, when Jack Frost is bringing up some stuff about the freezing or what, when does this happen? Oh, right. During the hug, Lucy mentions, oh, I'm melting your heart or whatever, and Jack Frost says, they said it couldn't be done. Who is they? That's my question.
Yeah, like, was Jack Frost brought up to believe that his heart couldn't be melted?
What was there? This is part of the issue with Jack Frost, I think, as a villain, is that they have a couple of hints to him not always having been this way, or him having some sort of event happen in his life that, caused him to be a complete asshole. But they don't expand on that in any way. They don't actually give him any background besides he's just kind of an asshole who wants to be popular.
Okay, so do you think they could have had a prequel movie about Jack Frost and why he's an
I think
asshole?
they just should have included that in this movie.
Oh yeah, cut out like 20 fucking minutes of family drama.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is part of the issue that I brought up last time, is that it feels like there are two different movies that they tried to squeeze into one, and then the quote-unquote superhero conflict between Santa Allen and Jack Frost got shafted in favor of family dramedy, which just doesn't work when they try and have the whole resolution, like conclusion of the movie be based on that conflict. it just doesn't work. One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is maybe getting a little dark, but I think it could be fun to talk about and theorize once in a while. Last time we discussed the possibility of the Santa Claus trilogy being in the same universe as Elf, correct? And we hypothesized the idea that the Santa baby is Buddy from Elf and all that. Now, I do not think we have quite enough going on in this movie or enough general knowledge between the three of us about Elf to really hold a good discussion about this. But it did get me thinking that Santa, as a general role in this universe, Santa is not immortal. Santa dies.
No.
Santa gives up their position or whatever. Santa, I guess, could suffer from a heart attack. Who knows? The point being, there have been many, many Santas throughout the course of history, which means
Yes.
Tim Allen will someday die. How do you think, in the canon of Santa Claus universe, does Tim Claus die, and who becomes Santa after him?
Well, from what I know about Elf, since we're assuming that Elf is like a dystopian sequel.
I don't want to assume that Elf is part of this. I want to disregard Elf entirely from this discussion for the most part. If you have things you want to bring up with it, then sure, I guess. But
I have prior Elf knowledge. For one thing, in Elf, specifically probably because they needed somebody to give Buddy advice on when he goes to New York to meet his father. Santa seems to know an awful lot about New York. And I'm not sure if that's just part of his role as Santa, is knowing a little bit about every place, but he has some very, very street smart knowledge about that specific part of New York.
Interesting.
Which makes me believe that Santa, in the Elf universe, was previously a New Yorker, which means that Tim Allen died somewhere in New York.
Okay,
Right.
So what was the cause of Tim Allen's death in New York? And keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas-themed death. He could have died any day of the year.
Yeah. I like to imagine, for the sake of stupidity, he got mugged.
Santa got mugged in New York, and then the mugger became Santa.
The mugger became Santa.
Yeah.
No. Oh.
No. Why no? Even better. I can make this even better. Santa gets mugged for his coat, the mugger sells it off at a pawn shop, and some random guy in New York buys it and becomes Santa.
Okay. So somebody kills and robs Tim Claus, takes his coat, sells it presumably on the black market, on the not black market, who knows, and then somebody buys it, puts it on, and is Santa.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, that would make sense to me. I was going to say he got trampled during a Black Friday sale or
You're
something,
just rolling
but,
with
you know,
it?
that works too.
Trampled during a Black Friday sale would be comical.
Yes, it would be.
But also,
and then
what would Santa be doing walking around during Black Friday?
Maybe he has undercover workers doing, like, those donation things during the holiday season, and he's checking up on them.
Big ass, like, grocery stores and shit have, like, small Santas, so who's to say that he isn't posing as a mall Santa, because grocery stores always have, like, Christmas displays put up really early.
It's true, and malls too, so yeah, no, I could see that. I really like your idea of him getting mugged, though, and having the coat just sold to some random person, though. That's really good. Oh, man.
Actually, though, your discussion of mall Santas brings up a pretty good point, because during the first movie, there's a scene where Tim Allen goes with his son to the park, and kids start lining up to sit on his lap.
Oh, no. That sounds wacky and comedic.
I'm wondering if at any time before the Christmas season, if he goes to a mall, he'll be mistaken as a mall Santa, and kids will just start lining up.
I would love that.
So, Scott Calvin has an army of children at his disposal at all times, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's another Santa power that we don't see addressed in the movie.
An army of children.
Army of children and children-sized people.
Yeah.
Santa could take over the world if he wanted. Let's be real.
Very easily. He's got time magic to an extent.
Yeah. It makes you wonder. I think the only reason Jack Frost didn't take over the world is because he's way too lazy.
Yeah. Also, when Sylvia asks Carol if she's being held against her will, I noticed that Carol stammers out and then corrects herself before saying yes.
What?
Like, she stammers a bit and nearly says yes.
Oh, wow. I mean, I know she was stammering just because that's kind of a weird and out of nowhere question to be asked. But, like, I didn't catch that she almost said yes, which is kind of messed up, but also not entirely wrong. Like, if you really think about
it's just
it,
like, Scott Calvin's just kind of like, hey, bitch, marry me, and Carol's just like, yeah, and now she's trapped in the North Pole
that's
for
the
most
plot
of
of the Santa Claus 2.
I think Santa Claus 2 more ends with that than anything else.
Yeah, I logged into it. The plot of Santa Claus 2 is Scott Calvin is only informed that he has to marry someone like a few weeks before Christmas, so he's just like fucking panicking, builds a robot Santa to do his job for him, and the robot Santa goes out of control and mocks people for being naughty as so much for picking their nose ever in the year.
Wow, that's interesting.
And all the elves have to try and... Well, the head elf at the time, Bernard, has to try and make all the rest of the elves believe this is completely normal and fine and under control.
I really want to know this now. Is Curtis in the first or second movies?
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't think he's in the first.
I think he's in the second at the very least. He's almost certainly in the second.
I'm just wondering how his performance and like his character role compares there to here, because
Bad.
I mean, yes, that's the easy answer and the probably correct answer.
Also, one of the worst things I noticed in The Bad Future, Jack Frost says swag at one point.
Yes, he does. He's talking to Tim Allen and he says, "Oh, just calm down, like enjoy the swag or whatever," and then hands him the recording pen. And a note I made about the recording pen is that basically as soon as Jack Frost says, "Oh, come on, who was the one who said I wish I never put on the coat or whatever?" Tim Allen like gets this light bulb and is like, "What?" and then immediately clicks the pen to start recording it. He already has his plan in motion there.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the line, Jack Frost's tone of voice and his inflection seem to indicate, after he's been thrown the snow globe, seems to me that he was going to say the line anyway if he wasn't cut off by Scott Calvin pressing the recorder.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. The way he leads that line up, it does sound very much like he's about to say it anyways.
Well, okay, that's just because they wanted to seamlessly cut in Tim Allen playing the line.
You're not wrong, but it seems unnatural, I think, is the big thing.
Yeah, I do think that Tim Allen was pretty much in that point. He's realised that he's done a win-win situation, but plays it anyway just to rub it in.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
That's a very Tim Allen thing to do.
So, one of the things, since I took most of my notes at the beginning of the movie, during the scene where Tim Allen is talking with his wife and she's listening to the baby kick, the baby is kicking to the beat of Jingle Bells.
Yeah.
I hate.
Yep.
But they don't actually, like, play a sound that would indicate it. She just holds her stomach and starts singing Jingle Bells.
Yeah, I noticed that much, but it's just like, that's just dumb.
Well, it's low budget, really.
Low budget,
Yeah,
yes, but it's
very low
also
budget.
kind of just a cheap way of saying, the baby loves Christmas or whatever.
She's a genius.
More or less. Yeah.
Because I guess the baby's a she.
No, it wasn't a boy by the end of the movie.
Tim Allen says he's a genius, and his wife looks at him and he corrects himself to she.
But at the end of the movie,
At the end of the movie, it's a boy because it's Buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's one of those jokes for the parents because isn't that like a common trope of sorts in, I guess, family comedy situations where it's like the parents are arguing over which the baby will be? And it's
I don't know.
just kind of a...
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you see a lot, and it's just kind of a cheap, not even really a point of conflict at all. It's just there.
It's just
It's
city
filler. Yeah. No, there's no reason for that to exist. Like,
Yeah.
anyways.
I also noticed the naughty and nice list alternates between glossy paper and regular old printout paper.
Do you think the naughty list is printed out on shitty paper?
Probably.
That might be it. I think that, the lists are almost certainly separate. So I think, like, the nice list is glossy paper, and the naughty list is kind of fuck you, cheap ass,
It's recycled
like,
paper.
thinner than normal paper.
Recycled paper. Well,
Yeah, like, thinner than normal paper. Like, you know those, like receipt paper? That's what I'm thinking
that
of.
stuff is so thin. Oh,
Crumples
man.
really easy.
Yeah, like, I think the naughty list is printed on receipt paper, because it just looks so crappy.
I
Okay,
could believe
last
that.
note I have is on all of the various intercom announcements during the North Pole scene, the final North Pole scene. One of them is step right up and shave a reindeer, only $5.
Yeah, I noticed
one's
that every
really
watch. I
good.
just didn't bring it up.
So you pay $5 and you shave a reindeer, and then the reindeer is shaved, I guess?
I think that's just Jack Frost preying off of children who have a tendency for
Capitalism.
animal cruelty.
And then they also mentioned the 6 o'clock elf toss. What is that?
I mean,
I think it's like reverse elf bowling. Like, instead of throwing a ball to bowl over elves, you throw an elf to hit pins.
no, I think you throw an elf to hit other elves.
But is it like see how far you can toss an elf, or is it like curling where you throw an elf across along a strip of ice and see how far you can get it?
Man, I really wish that we had more details on this, because that could be a new sport for the ages.
Yeah, I wanted the bad future scene to go on longer, just so then we can see the 6 o'clock elf toss.
Yeah, the Bad Future has a lot of potentially cool, and by cool I mean funny, and by funny I mean terrifying scenes that Jack Frost's North Pole, but we really only see the commercial side of it, you know?
Yeah. Alright. My question for this week then, what type of events, other than the ones mentioned on the intercom, would have you liked to see in Jack Frost's Bad Future North Pole?
I mean, I'll say that my favorite of the ones that are there is the one where he says, "Remember, kids, how much your parents love you is based on how much they spend on your present," which I think is very funny and really encompasses what his North Pole is all about. Mm-hmm. But I kind of would have liked to see more of that. I would have liked to see some announcements of more ways that parents could use their large sums of money to make their children, like, not nicer, but give them more prestige, I guess is the best way to put it.
Prestige. That's what is this fucking Call of Duty game?
Sure, we'll go with that. Call of Santa.
Tactical nuke incoming!
One thing I just thought of, you know that, like, quest, like a moral question of, like, you've got a group of people, if they all take the money, they all die. If one person or more doesn't take the money, then everyone who does take the money dies, and whatnot.
Who doesn't, you mean?
What if it was like that, but with children and presents, and instead of dying, they get frozen?
Oh, no. Oh,
Okay,
no.
so what's that called? The prisoner's dilemma or whatever?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Something like that, yeah.
I think some of the details are different, but...
So you're
it's the
implying a
idea.
death game where Jack Frost pits naughty children against each other.
Oh, no.
Yes!
The naughty games.
The naughty games.
The naughty... Oh no, is there like another one that's just the Hunger Games, and it's like your rewards, like the swaps you get and weapons, like just various Christmas items.
Oh my... We're not even talking about the movie anymore. We're creating a a Jack Frost Santa-themed video game.
That's because the
which-
North Pole's the most interesting part of the movie.
It is! Bad Future North Pole is really great.
I think that mine's a little less gladiatorial, but I would have liked to see some of the Jack Frost-themed thrill rides.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, like
Yeah, like a roller
coasters and
coaster where the
stuff.
cars are all Jack Frost's big dumb head.
Would have been pretty fun. Yeah.
I would really like that. Yeah, like a Jack Frost roller coaster
Jack Frost roller coaster.
where the rails get frozen and it just speeds up because of like
where
ice
your hands get
surface.
frozen to the rail until the end of the ride.
Okay, hang on. You know how there's sometimes there's like computer game add-ons to some Disney movies?
Yes.
I wonder if there's anything for
Alright.
this one. Like if Disney ever made one of those weird flash interactive things to keep kids occupied while their parents are busy doing other things with their lives.
Well, like a bonus disc with interactable games.
Yeah.
I somehow doubt it. I feel like this movie came out long after the age of those being cool.
Oh, okay. I also did another piece of research. I believe this movie was released onto DVD like a year after it left cinemas.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just like on a state of you can't watch this for like a year.
Unless you found the sweet websites online that had it, except your parents would probably tell you to get off of that because it had a bunch of viruses, probably.
Oh no, okay, let's be real here. A lot of like late 90s, early 2000s kids probably would have been spending a lot of their time on stuff like LimeWire and Pirate Bay.
You are a pirate!
All right, guys. I would like to ask, separate from your shining light, what parts of the movie do you most look forward to? I'm not asking what your shining light is. I'm not asking, like, what you enjoyed the most this watch. I'm just asking, what parts of the movie do you look forward to the most, for better or for worse?
I look forward to, like, there's two parts I look forward to the most. The first part is mostly for the worst because it's absolutely terrifying, and that's Jack Frost freezing Lucy's parents and putting them in the bean
Yes,
closet.
that I think is one of the highlights of the movie, for sure.
The part I'm looking forward to for the better, though, is when Scott Calvin gets on the Santa plane.
Yeah, no, I think...
I love that
The
Santa
Santa
plane.
plane's arguably the turning point of the movie.
Yeah, I've brought this up before, but it's great because it's an amazing design, and also it's because it's right at the end of the movie, basically, so you know, okay, we're winding down. It's not too much more to go from here.
Well, also
So-
because it's the transition into the best scene in the whole movie too.
North Pole.
Oh, no,
I look forward to that part neutrally, the North Pole song, because on the one hand, it's very good, but also it's very bad at the same time, and there's a lot to just take in during those scenes, and I don't know what it is, but every time I watch it, I find something new to appreciate about it. I think that is actually my shining light for this watch, is the North Pole song sung by Jack Santa.
Yeah, no, I think my shining light is either Charlie's just seeing the shit face towards like Neil's bullshit, or at the end of the movie when Sylvia sees the Easter Bunny and she's just kind of got this biggest look of disgust on her face. She's just like, what the fuck is this, Sue? This is ugly.
My shining light is the elf toss. Even though it doesn't actually happen in the movie and we don't know what it is, the speculation.
The idea of it is really good for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still want an Elf Hunger Games.
The naughty games.
The Naughty
Oh.
Games. And the Prisoner's Dilemma. Or would it be the Santa Dilemma there? Or the Christmas Morning Dilemma?
Christmas morning dilemma. I think that was the present dilemma. It sounds
The Present Dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
Present's
good.
Dilemma.
Present Dilemma.
okay.
But alright. Considering if you don't know what's in the present, would you take the present?
Well, considering it's Jack Frost, no, because it's probably like a bomb.
I don't think he's that terrifying and evil. I mean, he's pretty evil, but he's not that evil.
No, it's probably like gag gifts, like kids getting like saving foam or whatever. But I would say to not get the present, or would that also have a consequence because it's Jack Frost?
I mean, you're asking... I think Jack Frost would optimize this in such a way that... How do I put this?
Would you say it's like a Morton's Fork type of dilemma where either way you're
Yeah,
fucked?
sort of. I think there would obviously be survivors, but I think he would try and minimize the amount of them in some way. Like, either with the setup of the game, or by who he chooses to participate in it. He would play to their mentality in some way, because he has proven throughout this movie in different scenes that he is decent at mind games.
Yeah,
He
but
is
he's
decent
also
at reading.
he's
Yes.
proven in some ways that he is not a murderer.
Yeah.
So
You're
I
not
don't
wrong.
think
He frees his parents and
Well,
wants
I
to
don't
freeze
I don't
more
think he would
parents.
freeze kids though. I think that the reason that the
I mean,
kids
he-
come to the North Pole is just because he's too lazy to deliver toys and because he wants money.
Counterpoint, he almost freezes Lucy until she goes along with getting in the closet herself. He was ready to do that if it came down to it.
Or was he bluffing?
I don't think he was bluffing.
I don't think he was bluffing either. I think he's being completely serious.
I have
there.
faith in my boy Jack Frost that he would not freeze a child.
I mean,
I did not.
he at least is nice enough to give her a chance to not be frozen, and
That's
is
true.
honorable enough to uphold that.
That's true, and that's the Jack Frost that I know and love. On that note, I have one final question, just to provoke some thought for the time that we're not going to be together. Do
Yes.
elves give birth to other elves, or are they created through some form of
Yes.
magic?
Yes.
I don't want to think about this right now.
Too bad you're thinking about elf birth.
I'm blanking it out of my mind as we speak.
I need to know, because the elfirmary exists, but there seems to be no place to give birth.
It's in the broom closet.
Broom closet.
We'll have to think about it and address this terrible, terrible question next time. I've been Theodore,
I've been Jacob.
I've been John. Fuck
and
you.
I already feel regrets.
And this has been a disaster. This has been week
Week
3.
3, everybody.
Of Cause and Effect.
Week 3, only 49
Week
more
3.
to go.
Oh God. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Ask your parents' permission before visiting the Pirate Bay.